Hello gamers, and welcome back to another episode of Solo Spelunking. And today we want to do something special. Actually, it would be Dragonbane's turn right now, but current events have made me decide to change my schedule and throw in an interlude, if you will, to try out something different today. And what you see here is the Daggerheart Open Beta Quickstart adventure. So a couple of days ago, I think March 12th or 13th, the Open Beta playtest documents were released for Daggerheart, which is the new RPG that is in development, the new fantasy RPG that is in development by the Critical Role crew. And I read through the playtest document, and I have to admit, in the past I have not followed Critical Role's videos or campaigns, but of course I know who they are, and I have really enjoyed and watched the Vox Machina animated fantasy series, which was based supposedly, I think, on one of their campaigns or characters. But so that made me read through the playtest or skim the playtest documents and read through the Quick Start adventure. And I think there's some really unique mechanics in there, and I'm eager to try this out. And as the time of this recording, it is Friday afternoon, I haven't seen any solo RPG videos using Daggerheart so far. So besides, of course, the live stream from Critical Role themselves, I've seen an actual play by other people, but it was traditional group play. So I might be, I don't know yet, because I haven't searched YouTube in its entirety, but I may be or might be the first guy that posts a video about playing Daggerheart solo. However, I might be mistaken. So this is what we will do today. And to be on the safe side, when I got into the documents and I read all the FAQs and everything, there was a section about in the FAQs about, can I live stream Daggerheart content? And it says, yes, you can, but you gotta basically read or blend in some sort of license statement and give credit, of course, to Darrington Press and Critical Role, and direct to the Daggerheart website. So just to be on the safe side, I haven't done this before, but maybe this is because of these documents and the items and everything. I will now read this statement to oblige with my legal obligations, I hope. So here it comes. This product, in this case a video, was created using the Darrington Press Community Gaming License. The Daggerheart Open Beta Materials are owned and copyrighted by Darrington Press LLC, and all rights are reserved. And this product, in this case a video, is based on the following public game content created and owned by Darrington Press. Daggerheart Open Beta Materials, and by Darrington Press LLC 2024, and they are of course available at daggerheart.com. So I hope I have fulfilled all my legal obligations now. I don't know if I have to do this for every video, before every video, or in the future if this thing is released, I don't know. But I also am supposed to tell you this is all beta, so everything you see here, the mechanics, the rules, whatever, it might all change. So keep that in mind. And I use this opportunity to introduce to you my player character, which is, of course, some of you know me already, a human rogue, because I do like to play rogues and scoundrel type characters. And his name is Reo, which is one of the names I usually use for my rogues. And so this will be my player character and designation of AI content. Of course, this is an AI generated image using DALL-E. And yeah, so this will be my player character. And I created him off camera using the playtest document rules. And so I will introduce my character to you. So he's got an evasion score of 13, which is the value the enemies need to hit him. He's got an armor rating of 3, and this works like damage reduction, but it can only be used a limited amount of times. You will see in game. So this is where these boxes come in. I have my 6 abilities, and in Daggerheart you create your character using an array. So it's not rolled randomly. Everybody's got the same array. So I got agility +1, strength -1, finesse +1, instinct 0, presence +2, and knowledge 0. And I'm level 1, and I'm a male. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a human, and I'm of the Night Walker subclass. And all the classes and subclasses and abilities, they come in the form of cards that in this playtest you have to print out or can print out. Of course, you can just write this also on a sheet or just take the sheet. But I printed it out and cut it out and used sleeves with cards in the back for stability. So I'm of the Nightwalker subclass. So I can cast some spells. My spell casting ability or trait is finesse. And I have a cool ability called Shadow Stepper. You can move from shadow to shadow. When you step into the shadow cast by another person or object or an area of darkness, mark stress, and stress is a resource, to disappear from where you are and reappear inside of any other shadow you can see within far range. I think this is a pretty powerful ability. So I picked this subclass. And my theme is, as you will see, because of my presence score +2, I'm the silver tongue, charming scoundrel rogue guy. So I have an ability called Deft Deceiver. Spend a hope. A hope is another resource. And you start out with 2 of those hope, and you can have a maximum of 5. Spend a hope to take advantage on a roll you make to deceive or trick something or someone, into believing a lie you tell them. So that's a good ability. And this is also an ability. It's called Pick and Pull. You have advantage on any attempt to pick a non-magical lock, disarm a trap, or steal an item from a target, either through stealth or force. So these are my starting abilities as a level 1 thief, and this is my subclass. So these are the abilities I start with, and also I didn't print out these cards because I'm a Slyborn, which means I get advantage when negotiating with criminals, detecting lies, looking for a place to hide, etc. So this is my scoundrel feat, if you want to call it, or this is what it's called. And because I'm a human, I can spend a hope, this resource, to re-roll an experience roll. And this brings me to the next topic, experience. So Daggerheart does not use skills, but instead experience. And experience is basically a narrative mechanism. It's like a narrative tag which you come up with and create in accordance with your game master, taking into account the type of character you imagine and your background. And you get 1 experience at +2 and 1 experience at +1, and these are modifiers you add to your roll. And I chose Charming to the Last. No, I'm not Tarkin, but Charming to the Last at +2, which undermines my silver tongue, charming, people person, ladies man kind of character I want to play, and my enhancing my thieving theme and abilities, my experience is called "What is yours is mine" at +1. So if I want to use these whenever they are appropriate, I have to spend a hope, and then I will get this modifier to my roll. So I don't want to get into too much more detail regarding the rules, because you will see them in play. So just a few things before we start. So this adventure takes place in the Sablewood area of this campaign setting, and I have to admit, like I said, I didn't really follow Critical Role per se, so I'm not familiar with this setting. I think it is not really relevant for this Quickstart adventure, and so I will probably read into the setting some more in detail in the future. But for now, I just wanted to get the figures on the table to start playing. So I'm not really familiar with this setting. And just a few words about my background. So as usual, I'm a ladies' man, and there are some background questions you have to answer. And the first question is, what did you get caught doing that had you exiled from your home community? And those of you who remember my first heroic Karen character, this is a similar theme here. So what did I do? I slept with a mayor's daughter who was engaged to a wealthy merchant. So that was not one of the wisest things to do, and I got caught in the act. So the next question is, you used to have a different life from this one that you've tried to leave behind you. Who from that life is still chasing you? So who's still chasing you? Me, it is hired muscle in the employ of that merchant. So that merchant, of course, he was furious and he dissolved the engagement, and the mayor was also furious because this wealthy merchant was a supporter of his campaign and agenda. So it really all went south, and this merchant, hurt in his pride, he hired muscle, and he has still hired muscle in his employ, tasked with finding me and disposing of me. So, and who from that other life you were most sad to say goodbye to? So in my young adult life, I also had a love interest that I was seriously interested in, and I had to leave her behind. And so that was the person I had to say goodbye to. So this brings me to my current situation. So I'm sitting in a tavern in this town in the Sablewood village, and because this adventure, this Quickstart adventure, states that the following character also has to be played, and this is Marlow Fairwind, a lore-born elf sorcerer, and she's the personal mage to King Emerus, and she's responsible for bringing this group together. She appears calm until she isn't. So this group will consist of only her and me. And she's an elf and a sorcerer, and this will be her in the game, this miniature, which is a female sorceress, and you already know me, so this is my character Reo, the human silver-tongued rogue. And so these are her abilities. You will get to know her during play, and so the thing is, she has to complete an important task, and she needs help. So now, of course, the question again is, how do I fit in? So we had some dealings in the past, yeah, so I helped her in the past when she was not, or at a time when she was not the personal mage to King Emrys, to get out of a tight spot she got herself into in a not so nice part of town. We became friends, but because of her position now, she is somewhat reserved, because I might have some sort of a bad reputation, but she knows me as a reliable person and also a resourceful person, and she thinks that my skills with people and getting people to do what I want might come in handy on this task she has to complete. So she approaches me, or while I'm sitting in this tavern, she approaches me, and I, of course, immediately recognize her as she steps into the tavern, and also the tavern crowd. They, oh no, wait, she would not want to draw too much attention, so she's wearing plain clothes and a hooded cloak, to disguise herself, and actually she walks up to my table and asks in a calm voice, "Excuse me, this seat taken?" And I look up, and as I look up, she lifts her cloak somewhat and lets me look at her face so that I can identify or recognize her. And I'm like, "Oh, for such pleasant company, there's of course always a seat available at this table. Please do sit down. What can I get you?" "Oh, very considerate of you. I'm having an ale." "Oh, an ale. So you have developed some taste for the ordinary now?" Yeah, and I'm trying to give her a light smile. Yeah, wine is fine and everything, but every once in a while I yearn for the rustic hospitality of the common people, so I'm having an ale. All right, coming right up. So I order an ale for her, and so what brings you into these parts? Not that I'm not pleased, but I have the distinct feeling that you're actually not here by accident or as a coincidence. Is there anything I might be able to help you with? Always straight to the point. This is what I like about you. Indeed there is. I am entrusted with an important task. I have to carry an important package to Hush, which is a small village within the ancient forest of Sablewood. The crate is large, heavy, and sealed with magic. It has to go to the Whitefire Arcanist in Hush. And I would prefer it if this transport does not draw too much attention. So it will not be an official royal convoy with the appropriate escort and everything, if you get my meaning. It'll be more of a clandestine nature. And I think your skills in, how should I put it, negotiating with people and convincing them might come in useful on this trek. So what do you say? Up for an adventure? Well, I'm always up for an adventure, but as you have come to know me, I'm not much into charity. So is there something in it for me? Or what is in it for me? Well, you needn't be worried about your reward. As you know, the king's treasury is stocked pretty good, and I have, I think, enough money at my disposal to reward you appropriately. Appropriately is open to interpretation. So what are we talking about here? Well, let's say that you will get a handful of gold for every day we are traveling together on the road, and another handful if we successfully deliver the package. All right. So a little OOC information here. Gold here is tracked not in numbers, but somewhat abstract, and it is tracked in handfuls, bags, chests, hoards, or you can amass a fortune. And everybody starts with, or at least most of the characters, I don't think, but there might be some features or abilities that let you start with more, or backgrounds, whatever, but you usually start with one handful of gold. And I'm offered one handful per day plus another handful of when we arrive. So I don't know, maybe a handful is like 10-15 gold. I don't know. I haven't looked at the equipment price list yet, so I don't know how purchasing is handled in this system. Okay. Yeah, why not? And I think the pleasure of your company for a few days is also pretty rewarding. And I smile at her. Always the charmer, aren't you? Well, don't get your hopes up. I got arcane defenses. We will see. I can be pretty persuasive. So, when do we start, or when do we have to leave? Well, the sooner the better. Let's determine the time of day. So 1 to 6, it is still early, and 7 or higher, it is already late. Oh, it is already late, 11, so it's practically already dark. So we will not leave tonight, or we won't be leaving tonight, but early in the morning with first light. I want to use the day as best as we can and make miles. Okay? So then I'll meet you at sunrise at the east gate. Yeah, that's a good idea. Sunrise at the east gate. And I hope I can rely on you. Don't be late. Don't oversleep. Well, no, I'm not saying what I'm thinking right now. Well, I think I have a pretty good idea. Keep it to yourself. And with that, she leaves. And leaves me in the tavern. This is interesting. The village of Hush. Never been there, but sounds like an easy enough assignment. Might be good to get on the road again. I have been here for a while now. So far everything was calm, but I'm not sure about these henchmen, if they're still after me. Actually, it might be pretty good if I get out of town for a few days, maybe. Alright, so with that, I'll get a room. So in this playtest session, I will not track like money now for renting a room or consuming food or whatever. I just assume that, I got the required funds in my handful of gold that I have. And, so I will head to bed, and I will ask the innkeep because he's got to get up early anyways to prepare for the day and everything. So I'll ask the innkeep to wake me, and I'll also leave the window shades open so that I might be also touched by the first sun rays to wake up, so that I do not miss my appointment on the next day at the East Gate. And then it is the next day, and I got up early enough, and I arrive at the East Gate as the sun starts to creep up over the horizon in the east. And sure thing, Marlow Fairwind, she is there already with a cart, a carriage, and there are 2 horses in front of the carriage to draw it, to pull it, to pull the carriage. And so she awaits me, and she's wearing now some more formal gear. So she's got a breastplate armor over a tight-fitting traveling cloth outfit with a hooded cloak still to protect her from rain and weather, and she carries her dual staff, which is her magical, or with magical force imbued staff. And I arrive, and I'm wearing a leather armor, also a travel cloak, common clothes, and of course a trusty adventurer's belt, because never leave home without it. So I got some basic supplies in my pack, and I'm ready to head out. Alright, so I see you are well prepared. So let's hope that all goes well. Do you have any reason to suspect that there might be trouble along the road? And let's ask the Oracle if there is. And now speaking of the Oracle, since this is a solo play, and Daggerheart uses a unique dice mechanic, which you will see when we get further along in the adventure, and uses 2d12, and I will rule that whenever I roll doubles, which is also, it's a critical hit in this system, but also then some sort of random twist is added to the story, which is generated using a Mythic one-page Game Master emulator, the action and description tables, to interpret some words to get an idea of what might happen. And so for that reason, I will also use the Mythic one-page Oracle here, and let's see if she's actually heard something that... So it is 50-50. So the question was, do you have reason to suspect that we might run into trouble? 72. No, that's a no. Not really. Nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, every trip through the Sablewood is not without risk, but we didn't get any reports or anything that suggests that this might be more difficult than usual. All right, so let's hope that you're not mistaken and that your sources are right, and let's head out to make use of the day. So we can both sit on the carriage. She also has a map, just in case, and she steers the carriage, and I sit next to her, and we leave through the East Gate into the trail heading into the Sablewood. Okay, let's see if we can find a fitting map here. No, not really. 17, 18. There's not really a wooden or a forest landscape map here. But that's just the way it is, I guess. All right, so we'll just use map number 12, but with a little extra added on. So we head into the Sablewood. This here is our carriage, and this is the trail, but the area left and right to the trail is covered with thick trees and underbrush, so it is not this open space that you see here. And there is a river flowing to the right of us, but it's also hidden behind thorny scrub and underbrush. So actually we do have to basically stay on the trail. All right, so while we're on top of the wagon, I make some pleasant conversation with Marlow. So tell me, what have you been up to these years? Did you regret that you didn't keep in touch that well? And I smile at her. Come on, you know how it is. Once I got appointed personal, what was she? Personal mage, I guess. Let me check. Personal mage. Yeah, once I was appointed personal mage, my responsibilities suddenly just exponentially increased. And, you know, all these representative duties and the administrative stuff and the politics and the counseling. Glad actually I'm pretty happy to get out of this for a while and go on to this quest or mission. Well, if you say so. So let's just hope that we have an uneventful journey. Yeah, hopefully we do. All right, so we trot along this path. So our horses, they have a leisurely pace. We don't want to exhaust them. We also don't want to risk any broken wheels or anything, because even though this is a path, it is not very well maintained because it is the underbrush. And yeah, so this is covered with trees and everything, but we're not in the Sablewood yet because as the sun is about to set, so we make pleasant conversation over the day, we arrive or enter the Sablewood. So I'll read to you. This evening we finally made it to the Sablewood, a sprawling forest of colossal trees, some say are even older than the Forgotten Gods. It is a place renowned for two things: its sunken pathways that provide the trade routes for many traveling merchants, and its unique hybrid animals. Even now, from within your carriage, you can hear strange sounds. The bird calls of the lark moth, the croak of the lemur toads, the skittering of a family of fox bats in the underbrush. So one of you is driving the carriage. Who is it? So it is Marlow. All right. So, but I'm also with her on top of the carriage. And as your steeds pull the carriage around a tight corner, one wheel coming off the ground for just a moment, you see an overturned merchant's cart laying sideways in the path before you, like this. In the path before you. Blocking your way. A scattering of fruits and vegetables litter the trail. And from around the side of the carriage steeps a Strix wolf, a large creature with the body of a wolf, the face of an owl, and large wings adorning its back. It finishes chewing its meal, the hand of the dead merchant, as it stares at you, curious, trying to judge whether you're friend or foe. Then you see, following clumsily behind, two small pups, watching their mother cautiously. The carriage comes to a stop. What would you like to do? All right, so she stops the wagon, and obviously this trail is blocked. There's no going around because of the thick underbrush and the trees. So our carriage, even though we could untie the horses and lead them through the underbrush, there's no way we could actually drive the carriage through there. But also the chest is too heavy to carry, so we have to somehow clear the way. So this black token here, this black pawn, is the Strix wolf's mother, and she's eyeing us cautiously and wary because of her cubs or pups. All right, so what should we do? We have to get closer to clear the path, but I also don't want to risk her attacking us or risk it attacking us. We don't know yet if it's he or she. I mean, just because they're pups doesn't mean it might also be a male. Yeah, so we don't know that yet. I don't know. If you ask me, we're not really in a hurry. Seems like as if they're feeding, and maybe we should just wait until they're done, and once they're done, we may try to clear the path. Yeah, all right, you're right. So we don't want to risk anything. We will give it a few minutes, but better get your rapiers ready, your weapons ready, your rapier and your dagger just in case. And she grips her dual staff. So let's see if she eventually leaves, and I'm using Mythic again, and it is unlikely. Where is this in my oracle? Here. It is unlikely that she will leave. So does she leave? It is unlikely. 23, however, that is a yes. So 8 to 35 is a yes. So we wait a couple of minutes, and also no random event because no doubles. And after a couple of minutes, the pups, they're obviously done eating, and the parent also. But then we basically we witness a cruel scene as the large Strix wolf, as the parent uses its sharp beak to basically sever one of the dead merchant's legs. So it is a nasty sound as the beak crushes through the bone, and then the little pups, They can't fly yet by themselves. They climb onto the back of the parent, and the parent, he or she, it flaps its wings and lifts itself and the pups in the air, but with its claws. Oh no, it's actually it's got a all right. So with its paws, doesn't matter, grabs the severed leg of the merchant and flies off with it, so that it has some supply, so that it can feed its young for a couple of days to come on the dead carrion or carcass. So, and we are here left with this mess of a half chewed up dead merchant and this overturned cart and fruit and vegetables all over the floor. All right, so Marlow, didn't you say you're the personal mage? Don't you have any spells in your arsenal that could actually get this cart off the road and relieve the burden somewhat, or do we actually have to try to get it off the road somehow? Well, I'm sorry, Reo, but no. I think it is good old handiwork. We have to get the cart off the road. All right, so let's get to it. All right, so we step off the carriage and we tie the horses to one of the thick branches of the underbrush, just in case, so that they don't, if they get startled or whatever, don't run off or try to turn around and hurt themselves, and walk up to this overturned cart. All right, and that might trigger an event here. So let me read this again real quick. Okay, yeah, so let's inspect the dead body first. Strange. So Marlow, she's got instinct +2. You know what? I'll make a roll just so that you can see, and that I can see this system in action. So if you have to make an action roll, that is why is it called what it's called, you use 2d12, and this pair or combination of 2d12 is called your duality dice. And one color, in this case blue, will be Marlow, represents hope, and this orange color, this will represent fear. And you roll 2d12, you add your relevant trait or any other modifiers, and you have, as usual, try to meet or beat a target number. And if you roll doubles, no matter what, it is a critical success. However, you also check if your hope or your fear die rolled higher. So this basically gives you 4 outcomes. You can succeed with fear, you can succeed with hope, you can fail with hope, or you can fail with fear. So 4 different outcomes. And if you succeed with hope, the character who made the action roll, he can mark a hope on his character sheet. So this is how you gain hope. And if you succeed with fear, the GM, he can take a fear token, and he can have a maximum of 10 fear tokens. So I will track fear tokens on this sheet with this munchkin die here. So this will be my fear counter. And the DM, he can spend fear to make life harder for the players. So now you think, but this is a solo game. How would you incorporate this fear mechanic into a solo game? Yeah, by setting some procedures. And my procedure, I basically use a similar procedure as I do in my Star Wars miniatures game with the force points of enemies. So the guiding principle is that the emulated GM, he wants to get rid of his fear tokens as fast as possible. So I will have to spend fear, if I have fear available, at every possible opportunity. So as a GM, I can spend a fear when making an attack roll to add an additional d20 and take the highest result. So the DM, he does not, or the NPCs, they do not use these duality dice. They use a standard d20, and this is basically like advantage. I can spend a fear when making a damage roll to add an additional d6 to the total, and I can spend 2 fear to interrupt the scene with a GM move, and I can spend fear to use an adversary's special abilities. So what I will do, whenever I have fear, I will spend them as soon as I can. So let's say a combat erupts, and the first, let's say I got 2 fear tokens, and the first enemy attacks. I will spend a fear to give him advantage on the attack. If the attack then hits, I will spend the other fear to add an additional d6 to the total. Then my fear is expended, and then I'll need to build it up again. And as soon as fear is available, I'll spend it at the next possible opportunity. So this is how I will handle this fear mechanic playing solo. And maybe I come up with a more elegant way later, but this is how this goes. Okay, so so we inspect the dead body and search the card. And Marlow, she investigates or looks at the merchant, while I'll try to keep an eye on our surroundings. Okay, so the interval for, or the DCs or difficult values for the rolls are here. Basically 10 is easy, 15 is medium, 20 is hard, and it can be anything in between. And I will say that the investigation roll is not easy, but also not medium. I will set it at 13. So now I will roll the duality dice for Marlow, and using instinct, because instinct governs perceive, sense, and navigate. And like I said, there are no skills in Daggerheart, and her experiences are Royal Mage and not on my watch. And yeah, this does not really fit. Maybe I could not on my watch because it implies some sort of perceptiveness, but and she also starts with 2 hope. I will not do this yet. I will just make a normal roll. And let's check her loadout if she's got anything that might give you, might give me an advantage. No, not really. Yeah, so let's roll it. And 13 is the difficulty. Alright, so I fail, because 7 plus 4, that is 11, but I fail with hope. So I fail, but I can mark a hope, and players can have a maximum of 5 on her character sheet. So I can't really discern the cause of death. I don't know if it's anything, what it was. And Reo, he is checking the surroundings. So I will also roll an instinct roll, but I have 0, so I do not get any bonuses. I can't use one of my experiences. They don't really fit, and also none of my abilities. So it is a normal roll again versus 13. 5 and 7. That is a failure with hope, because, oh, damn. So Reo actually has the green die, but doesn't matter now, I won't re-roll. So it's a 12, so it's a failure, but also with hope. So I also get to mark a hope for Reo. But I do fail to notice because there will be an ambush, our ambushers. And these ambushers are thicket thieves. That is what they're called. Thicket thieves. And we are ambushed. Alright, so when the moment feels right, or one of the above scenarios triggers it, ask a PC who seems like they're paying attention to their surroundings, so that would be me, to make an instinct roll with a difficulty of 14. Alright, so it would have been even 14. Alright, on a failure, they are immediately ambushed. If it was with fear, the PC marks a stress. No, it was not with fear, it was with hope. So we are ambushed. Alright, so while we are focused on this scenario in front of us, in a whirlwind of cracking branches and unsheathed blades, a group of 4 Thistle folk jump out from the brush alongside the road. The overturned cart was an ambush. They stand before you, weapons drawn, blocking the road. And now it'll be combat time, and combat is pretty unique in this game. It says we're going to set up the battle map and the action tracker. So this game facilitates theater of mind play just as well as it does playing with minis. I think for a video series it is more fun if you have a visual representation. So I'm playing with the map. Usually if I just play by myself or for myself, I most of the time also play theater of mind or just use a mini for my hero and generic tokens to just save setup time. Alright, so this will be the battle mat. Let me check real quick how many there are. Okay, so they go first. Alright, the first encounter, ambushed. If the players were ambushed, the Thistle folk act first. We can see this reflected in their move ambush. Read the following aloud. Having the upper hand, the 3 Thistle folk rush you. Because of their special move ambush, they get to attack even though there are no tokens on the action tracker yet, and we will get to this in a minute. This only happens when they enter the scene, so it won't be like this every time. But right now they're slashing at you with daggers, protected by armor made of polished stones. Okay. So the stats are here. So stats for the enemies are pretty simple. So they got 3 hit points and their damage thresholds, we get to that. They have a difficulty of 13 that you need to meet or beat to hit them. They attack with a +1, like with a d20. And they deal 2d8. Oh, that is actually not that... small, the damage amount. Alright, so when the ambushers enter the scene without being spotted, they may immediately move into melee with a target and make an attack. On a success, they strike with their dagger for 2d8 +4 even, because of the ambush, okay. Alright, so, and the Thistle folk's goal, let's read this real quick. Use the ambushes to keep the party's attention while the thief attempts to steal their carriage. Okay, so there's also a thief. And so this is an adventure for absolute, not necessarily role-playing beginners, but also for that, but also for absolute beginners with the system. So it basically walks you as a learn-as-you-go experience right through and gives you guidance to how to run the encounter. Okay. Okay. All right, so I'm just reading here. All right, so let's just do this. So remember the text talked about the action tracker. So the action tracker basically is a card that you put on the table. And so this game does not really use a conventional initiative system. Instead, when the action tracker is out, whenever you make an action, you have to place a character token on there. And when you fail with an action, or when you roll with fear, the GM gets a turn, and he can, or they can, or she can, cash in as many of these action tokens as she wants and use an action token to activate one of the adversaries. But every adversary can activate only one per GM move. So see, not per round, because it's not really a round structure. It stays in this narrative, but per GM move. So the same enemy, if then the players go again and they put another action trackers on there and then they fail again, then it'll be again a DM or GM move, and then the GM can activate whoever he or she or they want again, and make another move. So we don't have any fear tokens out yet because we succeeded with hope. And so normally the GM can only activate his adversaries if there are action tokens on the tracker. So this is where this ambush ability comes in. So basically the players, most of the time, they have the initiative in a combat-like situation. But in this case, this is what the special ability says. They can attack without, at least in the first round, or not round, in the first segment. Let's call it segment because it's not really a round. Yeah, and because we are just learning this system, I will only use 2 Thristle folk that jump up on the carriage or out of the underbrush. And yeah, so they jump out of the underbrush. And on this right hand side, the black pawn, that is the thief. And he or she or it or they, because I don't know what, there are some weird creatures, they jump out of this way. All right, so this is what happens, and I can activate, I think, all of them. No, the thief does not have ambush, only the ambusher. So I can activate 2 of them. All right, so since they are here and Marlow is closest to them, they will move, so it's easy. They can reach her, and there's no such thing here as difficult terrain. So if there's not really something really hindering your movement, you can usually reach anything in close distance to you. So they engage her in melee combat and attack. And they attack with a d20, and they add their bonus of +1, their attack modifier. And Marlow, she's got an evasion score of only 9. So 1d20 +1. No fear yet on the table. So the first one, that is a 17. And I should have rolled damage with it to save time. So he deals 2d8 and adds +4. Because this is an ambush and it's physical damage. All right, so that is 4, 5, 6 plus 4 is 10. All right, and now we get to the damage mechanic. So let me get this character sheet up here. So you have damage threshold. So every character starts with 6 hit points. That is not a lot. But not 1 point of damage does not equal 1 hit point. Instead, you compare the damage dealt, in this case 10, to your damage thresholds. And now we see it is over the major threshold, but still below the severe threshold. So this means I'm in between here. I would mark off 2 hit points. And if I wanted to, I could use my armor to reduce the damage, but not this hit point damage, the incoming damage. So if I wanted to do that, I have an armor rating of 5. I would have to cross off 1 armor box, and you start with 3 armor boxes. And then I could reduce the damage by 5, so from 10 to 5, putting it in this minor threshold here, which then means I would only mark off 1 hit point. So this is basically how this works. And I haven't seen anything that grants critical hits to the GM, I must admit, in my skim through the rulebook. But players, they can deal critical damage by rolling doubles on their duality dice when it is their turn. So I will use my armor. So they jump out of the underbrush, and Marlow, she tries to parry the blows with her dual staff, and tries to shift her body in a way to get her armor in the way of the incoming attacks to protect her. And indeed, one of the dagger blades clanks against her breastplate, and she manages to deflect the other blade somewhat. So I'll mark off 1 hit point because I take minor damage. All right, so the thief, he can't act because he's not an ambusher, and there are no tokens yet on the action tracker. So, and now we get to go and can act as long as we succeed or do not roll with fear. And Marlow's character tokens, they will be blue. So let me show you. I got these. These are just like these game tokens you can get. They're just like plastic little things in different colors. So actually pretty convenient. And I didn't get them for this game. I got them for, I think, the Living Card game from Star Wars, where I used them for activation tokens and shield tokens and whatnot. But they're also great as generic enemy markers or whatever you can think of. But you can use basically whatever you have lying around. So, but this game, it works a lot with physical components like tokens, cards, stuff. So this might not be for everyone. I'm also still on the fence about it, but we will see. What I do like, though, is this duality dice mechanic. All right, so, yeah. So she will act because she's already in range. So I just put an action tracker. No, I put an action tracker on there when I make an action roll. So let me get through her things real quick. So what can she do? She can spend hope to cast. I can mark stress to deal more damage. And let's see, unleash chaos. Yeah, at the beginning of the session, place a number of tokens. Yeah, so there are 2 tokens on this card here, and of D10 equal to the tokens you spent. Spellcast roll with against a target within far range, so it can also be close, I guess. And spend any number of tokens to channel raw energy from within yourself. And all right, so she's angry now. She's pissed because she was ambushed, and like her description says, she's calm until she isn't. So she's going to unleash chaos, and she takes her staff and, just like Gandalf, stamps it onto the ground to unleash a wave of arcane force that will strike at this, let's see, can we target more? Against a target within 4 range. Okay, 1 target, because the other thing says any enemies close to you. So, yeah, I will just use those 2 tokens and make the spellcast roll. So I spent 2 tokens. But these are not put on the action tracker because so I spent 2, only 1 is put on the action tracker because now I'm doing my action roll, and she is blue, and I hope I succeed not with fear. Let me see, do I get any? Yeah, and aha, okay. So now I can use an experience if it fits, and I'm a royal mage, so obviously this fits when casting a spell, but you do need hope to use it. So I can spend 1 hope to use an experience. This is the general rule, everybody can do this. So I'm spending 1 hope, and I am using my Royal Mage trait, which gives me +4, and my spellcasting ability is Instinct, which is also +4. And they suggest to just roll a number of tokens to add together, to not forget it just with your roll. So that's 4 already in there, and now my roll, and I need a 10. Spellcast roll, let's see, against the target. So what is my spellcast roll? Spellcast roll. Okay, I have to use okay. I have to use the difficulty of the enemy. So the enemies, every enemy has like a difficult value, which is like the target number you need to roll to affect them. And in this case it is 13. And you can find this here. So this is the difficulty you need for all actions targeting an enemy. So I need 13. I got 4 already in there. Yes. So I roll 17 on the dice, and I roll, and this is mostly the important part, I also roll with hope. So I do not need to, or the turn does not pass to the GM. So the hope I just spent, I get back. So you see, you're also erasing a lot and keeping track of stuff. So I have to optimize my setup here a little, maybe like with a character tracker or a character lock, where I just, I'll do that so that I don't have to erase all the time. So I just, yeah, basically mark hopes that I got somehow. I gotta see. All right, but I do succeed, and now because I spent all my 2 tokens, I roll 2d10 points of damage. 2d10 points of damage, and the enemies, they also have a damage threshold, and depending on how much damage I deal, they mark off hit points, and they only have 3. So if I deal more than 10 damage, it is severe damage. Or 10 or more is severe, and I need 2d10. So that would be great, actually. Please. Damn, missed it. 7 plus... Oh, wait a minute. 7 plus 2, that is 9. But. I am a sorcerer of primal origin. Your primal origin allows you to modify the essence of magic itself. After you cast a spell or use a weapon that deals magic damage, I just did, casted a spell, you may mark a stress to do any on the following. Extend its reach, add +2 to the action result, re-roll any number of damage die, and hit an additional target with the spell. Okay, so hitting an additional target is tempting, but I'd rather re-roll the 2, because if I deal 10 damage, this guy, he's already done for. So, and this would be pretty cinematic. So this is what I will do. I will mark a stress, and I haven't marked a stress yet. And I will re-roll the 2. So I got 7 damage, and I get to re-roll the 2 because of my primal origin. Yes, and now we are at 11 damage, and this puts it at the severe threshold, and the severe mark 3 hit points, and they only have 3 hit points. So this was a lot of rolling, but the cinematics are great. So it's basically me putting the staff into the ground and casting or shouting an arcane word of power, and a wave of invisible force slashes out at the thief and the ambusher, the Thistlefolk ambusher, and throws him next with brute force against a tree, and I can hear all the bones in his body crack, and he just falls down and goes limp. All right. So, and now, usually, like in a normal game, it would be, all right, so you did your turn, now it's Rio's turn. But here, at least from what I have read, this is not the case. I could activate her, and I can, as long as I want, keep piling on action trackers as long as I succeed with my action or do not roll with fear. Only then the action moves to the GM. And it doesn't really matter if I put the tokens on or Reo or whatever, but the GM is encouraged to, and this is why every character should have their own token, their own color. He is encouraged to look at the tracker and to, like, if he sees a player, maybe you got a shy player at your table, or a player that is new and doesn't know what to do or whatever, then the GM's role is to basically teach or ease this player into roleplay by shifting the spotlight to him when he sees that he has not put any tokens on the tracker yet and hasn't done anything. So to evenly share the spotlight. So this is, I think, an interesting mechanic. So now if I wanted to, I mean, if she's already in rage and she's got this Thristle folk next to her, it would make total sense if they just, like in a roundhouse sweep with her staff, and this is pretty cinematic, so I'll do is just takes another action, so I put another tracker on this tracker from her, and now as she has like put the staff into the ground, she sweeps around and tries to smack the head of this Thristle folk. And now this is not a spell, this is a normal attack with her staff, and it uses instinct, so also +2. So weapons here, it's not like in a classic game where it's like melee weapons use strength and finesse weapons might use agility and ranged weapons use agility. Here actually weapons use different abilities to attack, and this reminds me a little bit of 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons actually, where you also had your basic attacks using abilities that your class is supposedly good at, because for example my rapier that I have uses presence as its attack ability, and I got of course assigned my +2 to my presence score. So this is also something I think that is unique, that the trait you use, the ability to attack with a weapon, is not tied to what kind of attack it is, but to the weapon somehow. So this is so her attack ability is instinct. So again, she's blue, and she will just make an attack, and her staff deals magic damage. It is a magic weapon, and only spellcasters here can use magic weapons. And I could, if I wanted to, still use my primal origin. If I want to, I have to mark off another stress and to then choose one of the effects. But let's see first what the roll result is. So 13 is the difficulty I need to beat. And I get +2. Yeah, and I could, I will not use an experience now. All right, so that's thankfully a 9, not a 6. So 9 + 4 is exactly 13, and still with hope. That is good, because that means the turn does not move to the GM, and I get to mark another hope. And I can already see that it would be good just to have hope tokens as well. So so I succeeded, and now I deal 1d8 + 2. I should have rolled it with it, but 1d8 + 2 magic damage. Four plus 2 is 6. So I'm thinking, can I do anything? Let's see. 6. Reroll any number of damage die. I rolled a 4, so this is hit and didn't make sense. No. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just deal 6 damage, which is the major threshold, meaning 2 points of damage to this Thistlewood. So, and this is actually pretty nice if they only have like, I can just mark, they have like 3 hit points. So I just mark this little circle here and just cross off 2 hit points. So this, he is wounded. And again, I succeeded and I rolled with hope. So I could once again do like a chain bash, but now like, okay, so if we would be playing with the GM now, he would say, you already did 2 actions, so what about you? Do you want to do anything? And because of course Reo is my character, I also want to get to do something and be cool. So now Reo will just take an action, and let's see what else, what cool things I can do. I can basically just attack with my rapier and my dagger paired, which gives me +2 to the damage, and I attack with presence. Alright, so yeah, so green is Reo. So now Reo is going to act. I put a tracker on there, move. So I haven't seen his thief yet. Just move forward, and with my dagger and paired, no, with my rapier and dagger paired, I deal 1d8 +2, and I attack with presence, and my presence score is +2, and I do not have anything that gives me an attack bonus, so it is +2, and my duality dice are the green ones, and always the red. Red is fear, and 13 is the difficulty, and let me just roll the damage right with it. Ooh, but haha. Oh, all right. So I fail, but with hope. No, I do not fail because I forgot to add, and this is actually why you should throw in the tokens. So I got my 2 presence tokens in there as well. 1, 2. So that is actually 13 on the spot. 3 points of damage, which is above the minor threshold, which is sufficient because it's 1 hit point. So, yeah, I step up as well. So she smacks him, and he's somewhat stunned. And I step up with a quick step and dagger and rapier, and goes down. All right, the thief is still there, the thief. So yeah, I just go again because I want to, and I want to even it out. Still no GM move, and so now just a little OOC. Now it looks like the GM, if he is unlucky, he doesn't get to go, but this is also because I haven't generated any fear yet. So if I would have generated fear also in the past, in roles that do not revolve around combat, the GM, he would track the fear and he would keep it. And it carries, I think, even over from session to session. And he could spend, or they could spend, or she could spend, whatever, 2 fear to generate, let's see, I think, or to activate an opponent. Let me check this real quick. To interrupt the scene with a GM move. Okay, so yeah, I would count that I could interrupt with a GM move, because we're still like, this is not, it's not like you're in or out of combat basically. So this is all narrative still. Yeah, and so this is like a scene where just there's an action tracker on the table. So yeah, I would rule that if I had 2 fears, I could, like, if I wanted to, like, put an action tracker and head over there, the GM could say, like, no, I spent 2 fears, and this guy, as you want to move up to him, he throws a dagger or whatever. So, but there's no fear yet. And so I can go again. So I put my action tracker there, I take my move, and then again do an action roll with my duality dice. And the thief, I think he's a little bit tougher. Let me check. Oh, here. The thief. Yeah, he's got difficulty 14. Oh, and he's got higher damage thresholds. So here, I need to deal 10 damage to deal 2 hit points of damage, because that's his major threshold, and severe is 15. And he's got a fear move, back off, spend fear, and make an attack roll against a target. On a success, the thief places their hand on the target's chest and blasts them backwards, so some sort of psionic ability almost, dealing 2d8 magic damage and pushing them into far range, so some sort of force repulse. But thankfully I do not have fear, and it only says 1. Fear is fear, otherwise it would state 2 or 3 or 4 fear. So you can do this move as a special attack, as a melee attack, because you placed the hand on the chest, and to do it. But thankfully there's no fear yet. So for the GM, so I'll get to go again. I already moved, and now I attack, and I'm using my presence +2. And I put my 2 in there as a reminder, and I'm using my duality dice and my damage dice, and I attack with paired weapons. Oops! Oh, damn! Alright, so that is 7, 9, 10, 11, so it's a failure, and also with fear. So now we get 1 fear token. And now the spotlight moves to the GM. So now he can take any number of action tokens he wants, but he can still activate an enemy only once per GM move. So now, since he only has 1 enemy left, he could take 3 tokens or 4, but that doesn't really matter, because the tokens there, they don't do anything. It's just to like, if there would still be 4 or 5 enemies, he could take then 4 tokens and activate all of them before the players get to make a move again. So in this case, so I failed, my attack failed, I failed with fear, I put 1 fear here. So now the GM gets to make a move, and now he can make a move because he can just take a token. So I just take 1 token. It doesn't really, like I said, doesn't really matter. This is just a currency that is important if you have more than one enemy. And now he makes his move, and like I said, I have to use fear as soon as I can by my automated solo GM rules. So I will use this fear, of course, to use the back off ability, because I think it's cool, and I think 2d8. Oh, wait a minute. Now I gotta see. Because he deals 2d8 magic damage, but if he attacks with his serrated blade, he would do 3d6 points of damage. So I think this is actually more damage. So I think he will use this ability, but I still have to use the fear as by my automatic GM rules, and I will just use the fear to either give me an advantage on the attack roll or deal 1 additional die of damage. And here I will rule that hitting is always more important than dealing damage, because if you don't hit, you don't deal any damage. So if there's like a hierarchy, I would use this fear token to attack. And then if I would have another fear token and I hit, then I would use it to increase the damage. But since I do not have that yet, I can just use it to make an attack roll with advantage. So yeah, so I make a GM move, I cashed in a token. So this thief, he enters a battle stance, and I'll spend this fear and to give him advantage. So he'll attack with advantage, and he'll deal 3d6 points of damage. I put it all in here. And let's see. All right, 9 and 9. But 9 plus 3, he's got, that is 12. And I got an evasion score of 13. Because as a thief, I start at 12. And my leather armor is light and gives me a +1 evasion bonus. So my evasion is 13. So I am lucky. So I get to sidestep his attack. So 9 plus 3 is 12. And thanks to my leather armor, I sidestep his serrated blade. Because I know I'm a rogue and I know all the tricks of the trade. So now that was the GM move, because he can only activate one creature per move. And since I'm already next to it, I put an action token again on the tracker to attack again. Haha, you want to dance? So let's dance, I tell him. And yeah, and I attack. And I'm using my duality dice and my d8. Oh, damn. All right, so I do hit 18 plus my 2, and I'll deal 7 damage, but with fear. So that means the GM, he gets to make a move again. And we already know how this goes. But it's 1d8 plus 2, it's 7. So 7 is above his minor, but below his major threshold, meaning 1 hit point of his 3 is marked. So I take another token here, so 1, 2, 3, and 1 hit point is gone. Just leave this here. All right, so now the thief. So I'm using the fear to give him advantage. So he'll use his 3d6 attack as well. So I draw blood, but only a little bit. So our blades are locked in a deadly dance. And of course he hits 17. Ooh. All right, so that is 5, 9, 11 points of damage. 11 points of damage, which is... So you gotta excuse this mess, because this is only because I have to play 2 characters because of the story. So if I would play this solo, I would only probably use one character and rearrange my play area a little nicer. So this is all just like a mess, but this is usually when I play something the first time. All right, so what did I say? 11, 5, 9, 11. Yes. So my major threshold, no, it's still below my severe threshold. But if I use my armor, I can push it to the minor threshold below 9. So 11 minus 3 would be 8. And then it'll be only in the minor category. So I will do that. So I'll mark 1 armor slot. And I'll mark off 1 hit point, because here are my damage thresholds. He dealt 11 damage, so that would be between 9 and 14 here, so 2 hit points. But if I subtract 3, I'll be at 8, and then I am below my major threshold, so I mark off only 1 hit point. And that was his move, because he can't activate the same creature more than once during his GM move. So that was, so again. So then now she does not want to look at what is going on here as a bystander. So now she will, let's see, can she do something cool spell-wise? Spend 2 hope, make a spellcast roll, d10 magic damage. 2 hope, that is a lot of hope. But then again, I can have a maximum of 2 hope. So yeah, so she makes her move and she casts Rain of Blades. She spends 2 hope, makes a spellcast roll, and then, for the spellcast roll I can use my experience because of the King's Mage, and then I'll deal D10, and whenever there's no number before the die, you deal as much die as your proficiency is, and your proficiency starts at 1 with level 1, and it can go up to 6, and you increase it when you gain levels. So yeah, so that's what she'll do. So while I'm engaged in this deadly melee and our blades are interlocked, she once again ushers an arcane word of power and summons a rain of arcane blades, needle-sharp blades, that she unleashes, hopefully, at the thief. So this is all pretty cinematic. Let's see if it also follows through. So I will, of course, erase 3 hope, because I will use another hope to use my experience of Royal Mage to give me another +2 on the roll. And yeah, you definitely, this erasing is stupid, so you definitely need some. Actually, I think what you need is a small little bowl for every player character. A small little bowl where you take a permanent marker and you put hope and stress and whatever hit points, and then you have like 3 or 4 little bowls for a character, and because then you also don't need different color tokens because you have different little bowls, and then like your hit points are in your hit point bowl and your stress in your stress bowl, and you just take out or put in tokens, so because otherwise you would be erasing constantly. I think that would be something to consider of how to deal with it. Of course, you could also buy a lot of different tokens for a character, but that gets expensive quick, I think. So I think the bowls, it doesn't even need to be bowls. You can just take index cards and put down like hope and fear and hope and whatever, and then arrange your little area. So you see, you gotta find your way there. But yeah, okay. So but I erased 3 hope, yeah, because I was at 4, 2 to cast and 1 to use the experience. So I have 2 for my Royal Mage in there and 2 for my Instinct in there. And then I get to roll my duality dice, she is blue, which is the red one. And where's the blue d12? Here. And I need the difficulty of 14 for the thief. So we already got 4 here, so I need 10. 8 and 7, yes, and with hope. See, so again, now I get to mark another hope again. So this is where the bowl comes in handy. And I succeed, and now I deal 1d10 points of magic damage. 1d10 points of magic damage. So, and she is blue, so let's see. Yes, 10 points. 10 points, which is major, which is 2 hit points. So while our blades are interlocked, I hear her shouting the arcane words of power. And it's like if you play Baldur's Gate 3, it's something like Tormentor or something. And then those blades, they're not red, they're blue. Those bluish blades strike true and hit this thief and deal major damage, meaning 2 hit points, meaning he goes down. Whew. And that was this combat. And then you get to remove all your tokens and cards. All right, or even an even better way, if you think all this with the bowl and stuff, just make a little pocket mod for every character and just use number values. Like if you have 3 hope, you put in 3, and then you cross it out, you put in 2, and you gain another one, you put in 3. So you just take a pocket mod made out of scrap paper every session, and I think that is the most space-saving way and quickest way, instead of erasing all the time and stuff. And I think I will do this. So I will end this session here, but I will continue this weekend with Daggerheart, because I want to try it out. I want to see how it feels. I can give you a first feedback. I like the duality dice mechanic. I like the flow of combat. Like, it's not I go, you go. It's like, if I'm lucky, I can go a lot of times. But then again, if we have built up like 5 or 6 tokens, and then it's the GM's turn and he's got like 6 monsters, he then can cash in all these tokens and have all these monsters act. And so this is what I like. I am really not sure about all this bookkeeping. So first of all, cards. Cards are nice, but I mean, you have to print them out, you have to cut them out, or maybe, of course, this is something you can make money with. They will probably sell them, but then again, I say they're not really necessary, because it's basically just a small text. You could easily put down all your abilities on a sheet, but then again, so we didn't get to this mechanic here in this playtest. You also can switch out cards. So you have like what is called your loadout and your vault. And your loadout are the abilities basically that you have, if you want to call it that, prepared already, just like spells that you have with you. And the abilities in your vault you can't really use. But whenever you rest, you can switch out these abilities. So if you work with the sheet and not with cards, you would also need another checkbox that you then have again to erase or mark to indicate what kind of abilities you are currently using or have in your loadout. So I can see this being somewhat fiddly. It is fiddly if you play solo like I do, and you have to keep track of 2 or 3 characters. I think this is something that is really difficult in this game. But then again, I think because of the action mechanic, you don't really have to play more than 1 character. Because if you play 1 character, as long as you succeed and don't roll with fear, you can take as much actions in combat if you want. So action economy here works somewhat different. And let's say you have a 1-on-1 encounter. You have a 1-on-1 encounter, and even though, so I get to act, and if I'm lucky, I act like 3 times in a row, and then I'm unlucky, I do not get retaliated by 3 actions, because still the GM, so the GM here has a disadvantage. He can only activate an enemy once per GM move. So if he only has 1 enemy, it doesn't help him if he's got if I got like 5 tokens on the action tracker for him to cash in, because he can still only activate this one creature once per move. So I think being outnumbered here, because of this action economy, how it works, might not be such a game-breaking thing as it might be, like, for example, in 5e, where you as a single character have to use this like legendary action mechanic to set up this this imbalance maybe. So this is just the first feedback. So like I said, I will continue this on the weekend. I will try to get at least 1 more session in. We will end this session here after this like second encounter. It was the very first time for me playing. So I only read the playtest document, but also not everything, just the important parts, how to create a character and how it works mechanically and stuff. And I've seen a video from Critical Role explaining the mechanics a little. So this is all new for me. So excuse me if this is all fiddly and stuff, but I hope you got a good experience how it might play out like like I said, this is authentic gameplay footage from the gaming table. It is not edited. It is the ugly, unmasked truth of gaming. So not in a high polished studio with a felt table with all these little storage facilities or whatever. So this is what you have to make do with, and there you have to see how this works. So I already figured that I need some other setup, and I think in the next session I will use this character lock method, and I will just cross out hope and stress and hit points. I'll just mark it like you usually do. But I still like this idea with the tokens and throwing them in there to remind you of the modifiers. So this is great. So yeah, this is my first impression, my first feedback, and this has been a long video, but I wanted to be one of the first guys actually to get a solo play video from Daggerheart out. So I hope I succeeded, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, stay safe and stay healthy, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.